All right, friends. Our last award tonight celebrates a dedicated leader who is curious and clear-eyed, who is adamant and adaptable, and who is joyfully humble throughout a hero's journey. Sue Diehl started her career in social work in the late 1950s. Now, behavioral health in the 1950s was truly another era. There were no community health programs. There was no Medicaid. There were state hospitals, there was stigma, there were secrets, and there was shame. But there were also champions, many of whom are in this room, who fought for voice and choice and rights and options in mental health and substance use service. And through reform and resiliency and recovery, and sometimes a little rebellion, they literally changed the landscape of behavioral health in Maryland. And one of those people was Sue. A native Baltimorean and a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania's MSW program, she has put the work into social work across a career in behavioral health services, criminal justice programs, and system administration. She started as a child protective service investigator in Baltimore City and then moved to the circuit court. And then one day she got sent to this big meeting to talk about these new laws that were about part of the federal community mental health initiative and figure out what was Baltimore City gonna have to do to comply with this federal law. And she listened and she learned, and then she soon found herself in a new job at the Department of Psychiatry at Sinai Hospital. She launched their first community programs for mental health and addictions, helped open their first inpatient unit, put social workers in the ER. Like, this stuff didn't exist, folks. Do you know what I mean? Did not exist. Put social workers in the ER and created integrative therapy services for substance use and mental health disorders. And Sue, as you put it, two of your great teachers during this time were peers, were people with lived personal experience of mental health and substance use challenges and recovery. One was Peg Sullivan, one of the original founders of On Our Own Inc. in Baltimore. And one was your husband, who was tireless in his peer support and worked at the University of Maryland for 31 years as an addictions counselor. The next phase of your journey was nearly 20 years at Baltimore Mental Health Services, the local behavioral health authority, where you participated in the development of ACT teams, in crisis intervention services, in the first mental health court, served on the board of Turk House, Maryland's Crisis Stabilization Center, and supported expansion of peers and programs, including advocating for funding for peer-run wellness and recovery centers. What a list. What a list of transformative actions. And then you retired. But like, not really, because then you went on to work as a consultant to work on service coordination between state hospitals and criminal courts, and you developed and managed the specialized pretrial diversion program for persons charged with prostitution for the Baltimore office of the state's attorney. You served 2 terms as the president of the Maryland chapter of the National Association of Social Workers, advocated in Annapolis, and mentored social work students. And nearest and dearest to our hearts, you serve as the board president of Helping Other People Through Empowerment, or HOPE, an Honor of Maryland affiliate in Baltimore. Each year, our Lifetime Achievement Award is presented to a person in the behavioral health field who has dedicated a significant portion of their personal and/or professional life to the transformation of behavioral health services. I had the pleasure of sharing breakfast with Sue last week, and you opened with telling me a story about how recovery happened in your family, in your life. To make a long story short, you said. And then over the course of, I think, about an hour, I probably heard 20 short stories that just barely scratched the surface of the long arc of your unshakable conviction, of your leadership and your advocacy for programs, for funding, for respect and recognition of the organic power of authentic peer support and how it transforms lives, communities, and systems. In the language of our conference, you have helped build, till, and water so many community gardens in which thousands of people have been planted and bloomed. So to make a long story short, your significant dedication has created systems transformation, and it is our honor to present you with the 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award.
I didn't do all that. Now you know why I wasn't home all the time. I wrote a lot of stuff. I'm not going to say any of it, I don't think, because you said, I want to say thank you. I thank you very, very much for doing this, even if it's torture. It is torture. And I do had in here that I remember Peg Sullivan because she was really one of my earliest teachers. I worked for children before there was a child abuse law. So it was for a private agency. And they took the complaints of neglected kids. So I go way back, but they taught me nothing in social work school because there was nothing to teach. If you were an alcoholic, you were on the street. And if you were mentally ill, you were in a hospital. So what was there to teach? And then we got Thorazine, and then we got people. And people came to Sinai. And we got to meet them, and to see them grow, and to see them care, and to see them be real. And the illness was something that all of us deal with in different ways. And it just went on. And little by little, everybody, and those of you in this audience who know me, know that you taught me. So I learned from peers, and I learned from my husband. And what you've given me tonight, I hope that you feel not only my thanks, but my admiration for what you do, what peers are, how they share, and how they give. And in the giving, they get. So you always get something back. It's not just what you give away, but it's what you take in. So if you're a new guy or an old guy, we'll all just grow up together. And I will say that to every one of you, whether you're new or old, if you weren't here, if it weren't for you, then there would have been no award, and I wouldn't be here. So thank you. This is a gift that I will treasure. And give yourself a pat on the back and say you've done something really good for an old lady. And I am a very old lady. And as my husband would say, keep coming back.